Welcome, everyone. Here we are. It's 2026, a very numerologically significant year. It adds up to new beginnings and independence and a shift in the way we understand people and beings in the world. When we look back in history, we can see this will have been one of the turning points. Now, over the past few months, millions of people around the world have discovered heated rivalry. I was one of them. And this is another part of that significant shift. Like many viewers, I was captivated by the performances, the writing, the production, the story, the cinematography. But above all, aside from the superb acting, the humanity that comes through this wonderful series. And as I've watched various interviews with the actors, the writer, the producer, I found myself becoming more curious. What would this remarkable constellation of people look like through the lens of yogic numerology? And that curiosity is what brings us here today. Everything begins with a date. In yogic numerology, every beginning has a significance. It's the beginning of a map of one's life, whether it's the beginning of a relationship, a company, a book, the opening night of a play, the release of a television series, a life. Each beginning marks the unfolding of something, the map of a life. We're not bound by that map as we are with any map, but it's good to understand it. And this is where we begin. It's a natural beginning, a beginning of the release of heated rivalry. And I'm going to speak to you very naturally, and I will draw whatever emerges because there are patterns that emerge in this transition period of 2026 and the years that follow. Between 2026 and 2040, the world will be unrecognizable. And what an exciting time to be alive, but you have to get ready for it. You have to prepare yourself. And sometimes in the arts, those preparations begin to make themselves known in ways we don't expect. So before we continue, just a little word about the perspective that I'm bringing to this. I've been working in the yogic arts and sciences for over 50 years, and much of that work included yogic numerology, which is one of the classical yoga systems. It's one of the principal fields of study that I have learned and taught, and today I'm recognized as the living master of that classical system. So throughout these years, I've worked with people from every walk of life, and I've tried to help them better understand themselves and perhaps bring a little healing to their creativity and potential. And today we're applying that very simple process to something that has really genuinely inspired me. So I've got some notes in front of me. You'll see me referring to notes. I have not prepared anything here. All of numerology begins with a formula. There's a date and then a formula, and from the formula you can draw certain perspectives. And that's all it is. It's a perspective. It's not something you are bound by. There are cycles in life, there are characteristics, there are questions, there are answers, there's a map. And as I go through some of the key birthdays or beginning points of the people involved in this wonderful series, I will speak to that formula by referring to the notes that I've written down, which is just the formula itself. So I have the person's name, what they do, and their formula. And I'll just speak to that briefly, and hopefully that will be something that you can either identify with or relate to in some way. It's not whether you agree or disagree, it's just a different perspective. Yogic numerology is very different from superstition or interpretation or other systems of numbers. It's a very classical system, and the meanings are not really assigned to the numbers as much. They're assigned really to dimensions of life. It's kind of an architecture of life. Everything from understanding more about purpose or a potential of purpose, how to make a change, what techniques would work best for you, especially in the yogic arts and sciences, and even in theater. And most importantly, how you can make a change within that opportunity. Every person brings something unique, and every group brings something larger than the individuals themselves. And that's one of the reasons I became fascinated with this process. So let's begin with the date of the launch of the series itself and the numerology of that, which again is very interesting. I think the most important part of the launch date is that it created a very long-term process. Perhaps the writer and the showrunner weren't aware of it. Maybe the producers began to recognize it, but the process itself, that launch date, brought something into being that would last roughly 10 or 15 years. I'm not saying that the show will last for 10 or 15 years, although I'm guessing that we'll still be watching of it in the future. But what it does is it has an impact for itself over a period of at least a decade, probably two. That involves the people involved with it, the impact that it has, what doors it opens up. And in this case, I think more than anything else, it brings with it the challenge of duality, the negative and positive. And it will be very hard for a negative to exist in this process because of the way that it was launched. This was launched, as far as I can understand, with a certain amount of innocence. They weren't expecting this to be the grand spectacle that it's become around the world. And thankfully, that's kept that beginning very humble, but also made it an artistic form. Every beginning has a process. You might say every beginning has an end, but not necessarily. Every beginning has a stage that takes it to another stage, that takes it to another stage. It transforms along the way. And the rhythm of this transformation is one that will, in a way, create a certain kind of um, sovereignty that we perhaps haven't seen before. The last time we saw this in actors was in the 1950s with James Dean, that whole generation of actors. But all of that had so much angst to it. This is a very different kind of procedural process. I'm a Canadian. I have to say, even though pride is not the greatest attribute in the world, I am proud of the remarkable artists that for generations Canada has produced for the world. And there have been a handful of moments that have really stayed with me throughout my short life of about 75 years. Years ago, I made a video about Justin Bieber because I saw something emerging in him that was really beyond popular music. And then came K.D. Lang's unforgettable performance of Hallelujah at the Vancouver Olympics of just pure masterful excellence. Of course, Celine Dion, speaking of the Olympics, standing high above Paris at the Eiffel Tower, a little dot on the Eiffel Tower, astonishing the world and elevating it, I believe permanently. And now Heated Rivalry, this little television show, these few episodes about some hockey players. But it does represent a remarkable achievement in Canadian storytelling. And more importantly, it arrives at a time when conversations about love and identity and courage and respect and humanity and hopefulness carry very special significance. And sometimes something appears exactly when people are ready to receive it. So let's start looking at the writer, the original author, Rachel Reid, and the showrunner, the wonderful Jacob Tierney. Let me draw, let me pull up their file here, Jacob Tierney. So this is a very interesting formula. This is a person who has two lifetimes in one life. It happens. Whether you believe in reincarnation or not, you can think of it as an arc of life. He has two arcs. Sometimes they're happening at the same time, and sometimes they start and stop and start and stop. And I think for him, this year has been the end of a life that he was born into. And next year begins the life that he wants. And I'm guessing that that process has been going on for the last 21 years, to be specific, based on the cycle of the yogic numerology. He is a light person. His humor, his experience, his work ethic is really wonderful. It's inspiring, and it's inspiring because of its lightness. This is a person who will not only experience success, but also learn what it's like to have a cultural impact everywhere. I don't think he's begun that process yet, and I hope that he will continue to explore that in the coming decades. That even though he's perhaps situated in Montreal, Canada, or Toronto, Canada, and working with actors in Vancouver, Canada, and doing business in the United States and distribution deals around the world for this series, I hope that he will begin to explore the world himself and begin to take on more of that vaster cultural identity that he can handle. He is a very forgiving soul. And I think because of that, he has brought something truly remarkable to his craft. Whatever work he's done in himself, well done. But the cycle that you're in right now is one that sets up a new kind of immune system for you, a new kind of reverence for life. And it will show in your work and probably in your home life as well. The only person I can compare you to, if I look into my personal experience as an admirer of other artists, is David Bowie. Not as an actor or a musician, but just in terms of a shape shifter. You know, there's the chafing and there's the shaping. And it's a little bit of both. That shifting is happening for Jacob Tierney, not just in this wonderful series, but in his life. And then we have Rachel Reid. Well, Rachel Reid, it's very simple. I'm looking at her formula. Again, the birthday becomes a formula. And from the formula, you can derive a lot of information, starting with the cycle of life. This person, very simply put, is a teacher. That's it. That's it. And who knew that this person in that form in Halifax, Canada, in romance novels, in hockey, who knew that this person would become a teaching figure? Not in the standard idea of a teacher, but I think, something so profound that this is a maternal teaching figure. I know that's not maybe the best way to express this in terms of gender, but that's really what it is. This is someone who was born with harmony and in her life brings healing and teaching through a funny little television show about hockey players. Nevertheless, it is what it is. And that's how her life has unfolded and will continue to unfold. But here's the thing, Rachel. I'm speaking to you directly. The next 3 years of your life represent the end of thousands of years, whether you think of that as lineage or incarnations or collective consciousness, whatever you want to think of it. It represents the letting go and the ending of everything you've ever known or been before. And that gives you a new landscape to develop. But over these next 1,000 days, or 3 years, that can be challenging. Because as you move forward, there's still something pulling you back. You move forward and something is pulling you back. The only thing I can advise you on this one is be incredibly patient. Because your creativity is obviously your canal. It's what connects everything. One huge ocean to another ocean is connected by that canal of creativity. That is you. You can think of it as a birth canal if you like. But these next 3 years are all about that process. And it's not to change your life. It's really to bring light. It's a very spiritual thing to say, but I don't mean it as anything other than human. You know, this series also spoke to me because of my background. Long before devoting myself to the yogic arts and sciences, I worked extensively in theater. I helped actors develop their craft. I developed drama therapy, I think the first in Canada, actually, using the works of Sanford Meisner, other great teachers, Viola Spolin. I worked a lot in radio and television internationally. But recently, when I listened to Hudson Williams describe acting through his eyes and his admiration for James Dean, I immediately recognized something I've admired throughout my life, which is that the smallest expression can create this deep truth. And Hudson Williams, talking about his process of acting and what he admired about acting through the eyes, made me think back to the drama therapy and acting coaching that I did when I was much younger. And I think with Rachel Reid's writing and Jacob Tierney's direction and their humor and um, authenticity and hope, it touched this unmistakable Canadian spirit. Now, of course, that brings us from to Hudson Williams. Let's take a look at his birthday and what that means, referring to his formula again. This is how it all started. I saw an interview with him somewhere on my video feed, and someone asked him something. He said his birthday, and my ears perked up immediately, and I thought, oh, okay, I get why this is happening to him now, because he literally just woke up. That's it. He woke up 2026. It's as if he'd been asleep for about 10,000 years. But the interesting thing is that when he wakes up, so does everyone else. And that happens in families. It happens in tribes. It happens sometimes in ways that are so subtle. But this kind of awakening for him is not just in terms of career. It really is something that um, brings him into an individuality. And just based on the one or two interviews that I saw with him, I can see that he tries to embody that. He tries to be singular. So while he feels very collaborative and he's very supportive of everybody, he is finding his own essence and expressing it in a very unique way. And I think that's incredible for someone who's in his mid-20s. He and his co-star are really representing a generation that is doing that in a deeply rooted way. Some people are born to live, some people are born to die. Everyone has to live, everyone has to die. But some people are born to let go. Some people are born to appreciate what's here. In his case, he has both. He is both learning in his life throughout his life lessons and his portrayals and his craft to live and to let go, to live and to let go. And the subtlety that he brings to his work, it's astonishing. It's just astonishing. I have to say that when I looked at his birthday and his formula, the only caution that came up for him, I'll say this to you, Hudson, directly. You can't trust anybody. Now, you have to be trusting to all, but you can't trust anyone because along with this uh, authentic, singular, creative, joyful search that you do, you also can be naive. And right now, you don't have to worry about it too much because you're on top of the world. But to stay on top of the world, inwardly as well, you need to have a little bit of a thicker skin, a little bit of a better understanding of what's happening around you, whether it's your representation or your own words or what other people say to you. That naivete needs to be reduced a little bit. It doesn't mean you need to become harsh or skeptical. It's not an either or. It's a strengthening. You know how to lift weights. Now lift your own intelligence to have more and clearer understanding of what's around you. It's not the first time you've been an artist. If one was to believe in reincarnation, one would say, hey, back again. And this connection you have with actors from the 1950s, there's a reason for that. I would love to see in the couple of years to come, I would say in the next 3 years, that you take the time to build your expertise and observation. Have a ball, enjoy everything that you do and get better at it all. But in roughly 3 years from now, you're going to start something brand new. And I think when you do, and if you've built some of this strength to be less naive, but still authentic and open, I think you'll find it not only to be life-changing, but perhaps help to move the arts forward in a way that only your generation will be able to do. But we can't talk about Hudson without talking about Connor. Well, what a revelation. I say this only by observing this young man, as I think anybody who watched the series or even interviews with him could see that he gave a monologue in Russian, which was one of the most moving soliloquies I've ever seen on television. Where does he come from? What is the formula that creates this kind of a soul? He has he has something rare. I don't say that because he's an artist or because of this series. He has kind of an Aquarius. I I don't mean this in terms of astrology. He has an Aquarian understanding of the world. Everything that he experiences it with a different kind of consciousness. I'm not sure that he's aware of that, and I don't think it matters. But that is also representative of that generation who are moving forward and are in a very unique position and will be in 10 or 15 years from now to run the world. About 10 years ago, Connor, you began to see what could be. And you switched from being a young guy who may have been interested in the arts and wanted to be an actor or whatever you wanted to be. And you began to see that you had the discipline and the strength to do anything. And while, as any young person might have their doubts, you moved towards it, and that will never break. Never. That ethic will never disappear. It'll just get stronger. Now, this year, there are cycles in life when you start something, cycles and when you stop, cycles when you have to harmonize, cycles when you have to study for a while. This is one of those study periods. So while you're very busy working with this series, and I hope exploring other opportunities in your exploding career, I hope you will also take the time to continue studying because this is that time of your life, this year in particular, more than any other time, where that study is important. So everywhere you go, always keep one eye and one ear open towards what you are learning, not just what you are doing. And next year, you begin a process of healing. So, Connor, you know that there are things in your life, good, bad, ugly, and beautiful, that need to be healed. Some people put that off for decades. They don't have time, they don't care. And that doesn't mean that it's something awful or traumatic or toxic, but healing is healing. Healing represents transformation. Next year is your year to begin that process. And in conjunction with that strength, that ethic you have, it will be very thorough and something you can trust that within yourself. What a lovely man. What a profoundly moving performance. Well, it's kind of funny, that I have the birthday of the two main actors, but I also have the birthday of their characters. So let me let me look at that worksheet for that summary. Shane, because in the novels, we have his birthday, I can actually do the numerology of a fictional character. Why not? And this fictional character works in periods of 3 years at a time. It's a 1,000-day process. So it's interesting that the story unfolds over 9 years and will continue to unfold. And I think Shane and um, uh, Hudson share a process of awakening. So it's fantastic that the character and the person are so connected. That is no coincidence. And everything in Shane's life is doubled. Everything. So everything goes faster. Once it hits a certain point, it just escalates from there. I think we may see that in ways we haven't imagined yet. I know this is based on books that I haven't read, but I think the showrunner and producer will come up with some new experiences, and his career, the fictional character, will perhaps move in directions that may be surprising to people that are awakening. Ilya, the wonderful Ilya, this character who is so funny and who's so moving as he unfolds his consciousness, his emotion, his own process in life is just wonderful. And all of the character, the reason why this character is so enjoyable is that the numerology of the character, I'm not speaking about Rachel or Jacob or Connor, the numerology of the character is of an open heart. High level performance, but open heart. Nothing else I can say beyond that. Now, I know one of the other fan favorites. People really love this guy, François Arnaud. What a wonderful actor. And he brings something not only to the series but and his career, but to life itself. François, I understand that when people approach you with something, you need time to think about it. You don't like giving an immediate answer. Fine, that's your way. Don't get pushed. That ability to filter information and experience and then come back with something that is just right works for you. So don't let anybody try to change that. The cycle of your life at this point is it's literally from darkness to light. That doesn't just mean career. That means something internal as well. And I hope you will embrace that in yourself because the part of you that may feel limited or blocked is unblocking gradually this year. And when you have even an iota of positive understanding of that, it will last for a very long time and have impact in ways you haven't imagined. I think you may find something new in your career beyond this, beyond even acting, that may surprise you. Again, I'm looking at Francois's formula, and it is so interesting. His jersey number is 21, and this is a real commitment. You could say before he was born, Francois was given the jersey. And when he was born, the jersey was taken away and said, you have to wait. We'll give it to you when you're older. This is someone who, uh, first of all, should be making a lot more money. So, Francois, I don't know what your situation is, but hold out for more money in everything that you do. Not because the value, not because you earned it or deserve it, but just because you have to know how to carry that. You must get better in business because this root, this foundation for business is an important part of the quality of your life. It's part of the science of your life. It's not because you need it or should have it. It's because it gives you an even stronger foundation for what you want to do in life and how things will unfold for you. What a lovely man. Another experience that came back to me while I was watching this series is that in 2015, about 11 years ago or so ago, I had the privilege of serving as one of the interfaith officiants for the City of Toronto celebration of same-sex marriage. It was hundreds of couples getting married from every tradition, and I was part of that interfaith contingent that performed the marriages. And in every case, people would talk about, well, this is my best friend. This is my best friend. Some of the couples had been together for decades and some were brand new. Some brought their children and their grandparents. This love, commitment, and dignity and hope was wonderful. And it's another reason I think why this story of Heated Rivalry touched me and reminded me of that experience. So as we continue to explore some of the other people, of course, there's Robbie. Kip. I loved Kip, but I loved his father even more. Well, Kip's birthday is really interesting. I would say Robbie in this case, because Robbie and Kip are almost the same. Here's why. Some people are born to have a multitude of experiences, and some people are born for one single purpose. In his case, it's one single purpose. And he is just beginning to gain the confidence to express that. But Robbie, I need to tell you that for the next 2 years, 2026, 2027, a part of 2028, you have to learn to not take things too personally. Look, I've worked with people in business and government for many years, and I've often said to them, it's not personal, it's not personal, it's not personal. But equally true is everything is personal because it's people. So when I say don't take things personally, I don't mean it's not personal, but you need to be careful not to take it personally because your physical health, your mental stamina is equal to how much you react. And the beauty of who you are, I mean, the beauty at the core of who you are is that you're like a perfect jewel, like the perfect pearl that comes out of the clam, the perfect diamond that comes out of the mountain. That's the perfection of you. But you have to shine the diamond. You have to shine the pearl. And that's a little bit of inner and behavioral work that you do. And giving that attention for a little while will give you such strength in your life, not just your career, but your life, in a way that will make your relationships, your sense of yourself, your creative output and input solid. I like things that are stable. Sometimes you have to be unstable to get to stable. There are many exercises that are deliberately to throw you off. Some of them in the arts and some of them even in yoga. You throw off so that you can get the strength to have that stability. It's not just standing in a position and looking pretty. It's being off kilter to get that center. And Robbie, this is where you are now. You are um, also someone who has a very good understanding and an authentic uh, respect for women. And frankly, in today's world, that's not that common. Every beginning leaves a signature. And yogic numerology is the art of learning how to read that. It's a very elegant and memorable and immediate way for you to get a bit of a map or perspective on something and someone, and then be able to give them techniques. That's why it's called yogic numerology. It's not just, hey, this is interesting about somebody, whether you agree with it or not. It's about, hey, as you grow, why don't you try this technique? This is what will work for you now. Sophie, Rose, Sophie has one of the most important numbers in all of numerology and all of mathematics. It's the number zero. And the number zero means that you can amplify any quality that you have. Any. It's not one thing. Whatever you have, you can make it better. Whatever quality or virtue or aspect or dimension of yourself, you can amplify it through your own will. And developing the confidence to be able to do that is your lesson of life. Being able to develop that confidence, no matter what, is your lesson of life. So, Sophie, when you feel fantastic and all the lights are on, and then you feel for a moment the lights go out, bring yourself back as quickly as you can and don't waste one single second on anything negative. For you, it's a waste of time, but it's an art form for you to learn that. Wonderful performance. Christina Chang, mom. Well, this is a person who, uh, very simply, for this series, I think it's like a stalwart. You know, this is, um, she creates part of the architecture of the story and the series. But as a human, Christina, not as a character, you have something that cannot be changed in your life. Some people, again, are born to deal with change, to grow and change and grow and change. You are born with the path in front of you. You honor it, you walk on it, and you bring that authentic flashlight that is you everywhere you go. No matter what role you play in your personal life or your performance life. And the cycle that you're in right now is one of completion. So even as you move forward in your life, there are still things that you need to finish. So take a look at what is unfinished in your life and finish it. Something you started needs to be completed. Something that you've forgotten about needs to be remembered. Something you owe needs to be paid. Something that's a little toxic needs to be cleaned out. There's an opportunity that comes roughly every 10 years to do that seamlessly, easily, and completely, and then it's gone, and you have an etch-a-sketch clean slate. That's where you are right now, Christina. So take the time to clean what you have to clean, finish what you've already started, and clear the slate because next year is a whole new kettle of fish. Dylan Walsh. Again, wonderful performance. Um, very respectful and humorous and loving. And this is someone who carries with him treasure. I'm speaking to you, Dylan, now as a person, as an actor, not as your character, but as you. You may sometimes have memories or dreams of something that relates to war. So you were born for only one purpose, to let all that go and to live a life that it has peace, that creates peace, that lives in peace, teaches peace. And that is done through your presence, through your learning, through your behavior, through just the essence of who you are. And it's almost as if everything you're living now, you can kind of remember having lived it before, no matter what you think that means. Nothing's new to you, Dylan. And because of that, instead of trying to create something new, you just do it differently, do it better. And you are absolutely doing that. The cycle that you're in right now underscores that more than anything else. Pay attention to your relationships. Hayden, the character Hayden, Callan. This is this is fun. Sometimes in numerology, again, one number stands out. And in this case, it's the difference between two numbers, 9 and 10. So he's a 9.5. Callan, your whole life is dedicated towards making that halfway leap between one to another, going from that universal kind of spirit that can get along with just about anybody, but also having to develop your own personality. You have to have your own identity, and yet you can understand everything universally, being able to stand out and at the same time not wanting to sometimes. It's quite a challenge, but it's a lot of fun to do it. And your cycle that you're in right now is getting you ready for next year. Next year is a big year for you. I don't know what's coming in your home life. It's none of my business, or what's coming in your career, but it's big. And this is your year to lift those mental weights to get ready for that. I love George, Kip's dad. I don't have his birthday, so I can't speak numerologically, except I can say just based on the year, that's all I know, is that this is someone who has a certain amount of reverence for life. And I'll leave it at that because he knows the rest. Now, my understanding is that according to Rachel Reid, she based some of the relationship between Connor and Hudson through Shane and Ilya on two hockey players who are well known and alive. Not their romantic relationship, but one from one culture, one from the other. Star players, Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin. Well, I have their birthdays as well, so why don't I address them? What an interesting thing. Sidney Crosby, you are just, I know you're famous. You've done amazing world records, but you're just getting started. Your life is just getting started. This means that the gifts in life that you were born with are just beginning to unfold. I'm not talking about family or career. It's a very internal process. Just make sure in the next year that you always tell the truth. You don't have to tell all the truth, but you have to tell the truth, because anything you say or do that's not 100% clear will not work for you. You're at a stage of life where you not only have that mountain of excellence behind you, but you have something internal now that cannot afford to have any fog over it. And interesting, your when we look at the jersey numbers here, when I look at my notes on this, Sidney Crosby is a 87, born in 87. That's pretty cool. Alexander. Well, this is someone whose numerology is inexact because he crossed a date line in his changing travels. So the numerology based on his birthday has to be adjusted. And the consequence of that is that he made a certain amount of money. It's all about money. Not really. When I say money, I'm talking about real wealth, not just cash in the bank. He made a certain amount of wealth appear, like manifested for him. And now for the rest of his life, he's going to be spending it. He's one of these personalities in terms of the numerology of his life, where what comes in must then go out. And what he spends and how he spends it, both in terms of the choices he makes, how he deals with his wealth, etc., will be just fascinating. And it may not be public. It may be more personal. I wouldn't dare to say either way. Well, there are so many characters, so many other performers and people behind the scenes. I can't get to them all. And really, this is just for entertainment and for me paying homage to what I think is a wonderful ensemble of people who have crafted something just wonderful. And frankly, having seen it now, when I watch other performances, I now measure it against this. It's as if everything else is a little more two-dimensional versus three-dimensional. I really think there's a new style emerging in this craft of acting, and television is moving forward. Now, Heated Rivalry may be part of that. Well, I can't go on without addressing two of the more important characters in the show. I don't have all the birthdays for everybody, but I have two more, so I'll make it simple. I don't think, no matter how talented you are as an actress, that you can really draw something so authentic unless it's really there already. So when I talk about the lovely Svetlana, I hope I say her name properly, Ksenia, what an amazing um, collaborative effort she has done. And that is really the name of the game for her. Her world always involves some sort of harmony. She may not feel harmonious within her 100% of the time, but her life is always oriented towards harmony of some sort. And I would say to you directly, there are cycles of life. There is a map of life. And the cycle that you're in right now is a dramatic ending. Now, don't worry, it's not the ending of your life. It's the ending of old belief systems for you, just for you alone. And in the next year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, you're going to unfold and unravel a whole new you. Not because something's wrong with you now, but because this is your opportunity to grow as you want to grow. So thank you for that performance, and thank you for being unabashedly female. Let me tell you what I mean by that. The symbolism of female in the yogic numerology is the universe. The universe is female. It gives birth to gods. That's a symbolism. It is a universality. It is a point of view that when it takes a human form, has this kind of grace, often associated with something that's female, not exclusively, but in this case, really embodied so beautifully by this wonderful actress. So the only caution I would suggest for you is that I know there are times when there are old hurts, some identified and some unidentified, that may pop up for you, but that age is over for you now. You're literally building, like brick by brick. And it starts on December the 4th of 2026. And of course, Elena Rigg, Kip Grady's best friend in terms of the performance inside the show. This is Nadine. Nadine, you have been a crucial part of this experiment. And one of the reasons for that is that you have brought a certain amount of reality to this whole process. I don't mean as your character, I mean you. You have brought forward, this is happening. This is going to happen. Anybody who doesn't think it's going to happen, you're not seeing it properly. This is it. Period. Things for you are that clear. Sometimes, very seldom, but sometimes you get a little confused around certain areas that have to do with money or things that you're a little afraid of, but they're so temporary. And when you engage yourself in collaboration, as you've been doing, and support, all of that goes away very, very quickly. You really are, there's, it's a cliche. I hate to use this word, to manifest, but that's who you are. You manifest. Whatever you choose, you manifest. And that's that. For yourself, yes. For others, 100%. It's not a codependence. It's not something that people earn or deserve or a gift. It's just who you are. And your cycle this year of 2026 matches that exactly. So when you are positive, wow. I mean, wow. And when you're negative, there's just conflict. And you'll notice it right away. It doesn't suit you. Don't allow yourself to engage in that. I would like to say more than anything else that there are so many opportunities in life to look at one's map and to create a shift. Everything in healing, everything in transformation begins with Well, what's the problem? Then you identify something that needs to be healed or looked at or researched. Then you have to have a map to know when and where you are, so it's done with the right timing. And then you rearrange the energy around it. In this case, it's creative. And then finally, you reset. And oftentimes that's what's missing. I think Heated Rivalry has done some of all of those things. And the reset is just beginning. Well, thank you for joining me in this little journey of yogic numerology around Heated Rivalry. Okay.